to do sometimes when our husbands frustrate us and get on our nerves. So they do something wrong, our natural reaction is, what you're not going to do is. So I teach wives how to not pop off and how to effectively communicate, get their point across to their husband so that they actually hear it and receive it. Because when we start yelling, they don't hear a thing that we say. They either tune us out or they come back at us with the same attitude. So, of course, as a wife, it's hard sometimes. We are trying to get them to understand what it is that we need them to do. And they make mistakes. We're flawed. They're flawed. We try things like silent treatment. We try yelling. We might try counseling. I've tried counseling. Counseling didn't work for me because they wanted me to become a Stepford wife. And she's not a Stepford wife, So as strong women, most of my clients are strong women, very opinionated, know how to handle their business, they're very powerful in the workforce or powerful in the world with strong opinions. So when they're dealing with a husband, it's easy to say, well, just do what I tell you to do, and life will be easy. Just do A through Z, life will be fine. And your husband's like, but I don't want to do A through Z. Can I have an opinion too? So basically, for the next couple minutes, I get to teach you or explain to you the strategies that I've taught most of my clients to use that help them drastically change how their marriage is flowing, okay? So let's talk about the first thing. And one thing that as strong women we have to realize, it is possible for you to remain a strong woman and still be able to hold the ear of your husband with kindness. You get more bees with honey, okay? Your husband, although he is strong, he does not necessarily want you to be strong with him, okay? So you don't have to become a Stepford wife. And a lot of my clients are just like me, just like, look, I know how to handle my business. So number one, the first thing that you need to know is your triggers and his triggers, okay? Both of you come to the relationship with triggers. Now, having a trigger, sometimes people say, oh, she got a trigger, something's wrong with that. No, all human beings have a trigger, okay? Your trigger is something that someone says and or does that creates a response in you, okay? It can be a good response. For example, when my husband brings me a pint of Haagen-Dazs ice cream, that is a trigger for some love, okay? I'm like, oh, he done brought me my ice cream. Thank you, Jesus. Boo, come on over here with me. And another trigger could be something negative, okay? So you have to be self-aware enough for yourself to know what are the things that he normally does that creates something in me. It could be something that like not managing the money properly, or him dismissing my concern when he mismanages the money. Because it's one thing to mismanage the money, and then he's like, all right, well, let's talk about it. Let's figure out what we need to do. So you might be able to handle it, but then when he dismisses your concern, it's like, oh no, that's a whole nother trigger. And what I also teach my clients is you have to know the root of that trigger. Most of our triggers are stemmed from our childhood. Most of our triggers are something we've seen growing up that we did or did not like. For example, I was raised in a household where my mother was a wife. She was an at-home wife. My father was very domineering. He was very strong. So I grew up saying, what you're not going to do is run me. I'm a strong woman. I'm going to make my own money. So when my husband tries to stand up sometimes, that triggers something in me like, I'm not your Stepford wife. So I've had to get to the point where I say, you know what? That was between my mom and my dad. I can't bring that into my marriage. So knowing your triggers and knowing his triggers. As wives, we know exactly what to say to our husbands to get that reaction. We know exactly what way to roll our eyes. We know exactly how many times to jump at them. So you have to know what it is that affects him. Now, granted, his trigger should never at any point result in you getting hurt physically. Okay? But you may do something that creates a negative reaction in him. We don't want to dance on his triggers. I know you can't talk about my husband's mom, okay? Just don't do it. It's not going to end well. It's not going to get the grace that you want in the conversation. So knowing your triggers and then sitting down together and talking about those triggers with your husband, it creates a sense of trust between the two of you. Because once he knows, she knows this about me, and I'm safe here with her. Because even though they're strong men, they still want to know that they're safe with you. They want to know that their vulnerabilities are safe with them. Okay, so that's the first thing that I teach wives. Know your triggers, know his triggers, and y'all sit down together and you come to an agreement. This is stuff that we don't play with. I don't do this, you don't do that. And that creates safe boundaries in your marriage. Okay, so the next thing that I tell wives is have regular check-ins. Now, the regular check-ins are very, very amazing and positive, and women like them because what it does is it creates a consistent and ongoing conversation between you and your boo. For example, we call it, I tell women to call it pillow talk. Okay? So pillow talk is when you meet with your husband once a week, you discuss the highs, you discuss the lows, and you discuss your expectations for the upcoming week. So for example, my husband and I, we meet every Sunday evening after the girls go to bed. Pillow talk does not have to necessarily happen in the bedroom. Hello, ladies. Wonderful. The pillow talk does not necessarily have to happen in the bedroom. You know, pillow talk is just another way of saying we're going to have this conversation, okay? Pillow talk should always start with you saying something positive about him first. It always has to start with you saying something kind. Start with something that he's done right during the week. Start with something that you appreciate about him. Okay, one thing we need to know about our husbands, they gravitate to whatever feels good to them. That's a natural thing. That's actually a human thing. If someone's constantly complimenting you, you know, I'm like, oh, my hair looks what? What you say? Oh, thank you so much. And you know, whoever's saying whatever it is that you like, you gravitate towards that person. Same thing with your husband. Okay, so pillow talk always starts with a compliment. I appreciate you for doing this. This is what you've done good. Yay. So now you have his ear, because you want him to be ready and open for what you're going to say. Then you talk about a low. What is it that you were concerned about during that week? Only talk about one low at a time. Because sometimes we want to go through the checklist. We want to go through, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you didn't take out the garbage, you didn't pick up the kids on time, you could have cooked dinner while I was still at work, you didn't do this. So we want to go through the whole list, and based on how he responds, that list gets longer and longer and longer in the conversation. So when you're having pillow talk with your husband, make sure you only focus on one low. Now, when you're discussing that low, have in mind a way that you can overcome that low. For example, let's say he did not take out the garbage. And, you know, people came, garbage still sitting in the backyard, he didn't take it out. Well, honey, I need you to, if you can, take out the garbage. Let's come up with a plan. Okay, well, we know the garbage gets taken out on Monday morning. Sunday night, right before pillow talk, how about you go take out the garbage? That'll make it easy for you. That's a solution, huh?
Can we tell Alexis to do it? If you tired of hearing my voice, can I tell Alexa at 7 o'clock to remind her to take out the
Honey,
garbage?
I love it. Yes, because she
She said, nice, take out the garbage.
honey, and that's good too. And you brought up an excellent point, because we don't want to always be the person that's telling him what to do. So if you can find other creative ways, tell Alexa to do it. Let him be mad at Alexa. Set his phone to go off at a certain time to remind him, go take out the garbage. You know, if the children need to be in bed by a certain time, because I'm normally up late working at times, and you know, my husband, he's getting the kids ready. Okay, I need you to set that alarm because it's 9 o'clock, and then now you don't need to be in bed by 8 o'clock. So there's an alarm that goes up. So basically, pillow talk involves you talking about one thing he did right, and then talking about one thing that you want him to improve on. With a solution, make sure your solution is reasonable and doable. Okay? Sometimes you want to put expectations on him that he, like I would love for my husband to work out every single night. Because I want a 6-pack. I need you to go to the gym and work out. That's not a reasonable expectation for my boo. But what I can say is, hey, you know, what day this week do you think you'd like to go to the gym? Maybe I'll go with you. We can go to the gym together, work out for about 30 minutes to an hour, so make sure your expectations are reasonable and make it entertaining for him. You know, make it something that he would also enjoy, okay? So the third part of pillow talk is an expectation that you need from him, okay? It's not your honey-do list. It's not something that deals with the family as a whole. It's something that deals with you two reconnecting, okay? So you schedule or you discuss your expectations for how we're going to connect this week. This could be anything like a date night. This could be something as simple as, are we gonna binge watch our favorite show together on Tuesday night? Send the kids to bed while we binge watch the show. It could be, like for me, I need at least one text a day. Like it don't even have to be anything major. Just, hey babe, how you doing? That to me is like, okay, you know. So tell him what you would like to receive that would unite y'all closer together. Okay? Once again, make sure it's reasonable. If he falls short, bless Jesus, you know, you keep on working on it. And then in this conversation also, you ask him, is there anything you need of me this week? Okay? Is there anything I can do to make your life better? Another thing that, this is just extra, I just thought about it, that men love, and I don't know where y'all are spiritually, but if you text your husband, how can I pray for you today? What can I pray for you? What can I do to make your life better? First time I said that to my husband, he was like, oh, okay, yeah. You know, I need help with this or this. It just makes him feel like, oh, she's my helpmate. You know, she's there for me. So that's just another little bonus. And actually, that's one of the strategies I use. I have 2 workbooks. I'm a vendor out there. One of my workbooks has over 100 strategies that you can use to reconnect with your boo. Things like date nights, things like texts, things like calls. There's different things that are economical. Because like I said earlier, I'm a mom, husband, 4 kids. So we not going on expensive date nights. Every once in a while we'll do a date night, but you know, it's economical things you can do to reconnect with your husband. Okay? So that was pillow talk. And then the third thing you can do, let me recap real quick. So the first thing is know your triggers. You have to know your triggers, know your husband's triggers, discuss these triggers, and make sure it's an understanding. We don't deal with these triggers. We don't do this to each other because it creates a pain in us, okay? The second thing was have regular check-ins. We call those pillow talk, okay? It doesn't necessarily have to happen in the bed. It's just a meeting between you two where you talk about you two, not necessarily the kids and the family with us, okay? Third thing, build your circle, okay? When I talk about building your circle, you need to have a community of other married people around you that are pro-marriage and honest and transparent about marriage, okay? There's nothing like that married couple that, oh, everything's always wonderful, everything's just beautiful, everything's just wonderful, no. You people get on your last nerve and you will look at him in the middle of the night like, do I really need him here? If I just put this pillow over his face for 5 minutes. You know, I love that couple. It's like, okay, wonderful, it's pixie dust over there, but I'm in the real world over here where he's going to say something that's going to irritate me, okay? So you want a couple that's going to be honest with you and say there are good times and there are bad times. But we're going to make sure you make it through these good and bad times together, okay? You need to have at least, there should be at least 4 couples in your circle. These are people who are trustworthy. They're not spreading their business. Okay, because if they're spreading their business, they're gonna spread your business. So you got to make sure these are people that you can trust, people who are reliable, people who are consistent in their marriage. Okay. In your group, you should also have one mentor couple. This is a couple that's been married longer than you. They've experienced more than you. They've been down that road. I actually have 3 mentor couples. With this mentor, and the reason why you want this mentor couple, you don't want to always be the person that's telling your husband what's wrong with his life. Because if you're going to be his nag. I try to help women not be the nag in his life. So you have a mentor couple. Y'all hang out. Y'all have dinner every once in a while. You know how it is. You get your mentor to sign. You tell the wife, honey, look, Boo thing won't get a job. I'm working with him. I'm trying. I'm blah, blah, blah. And you going through the list with her. What do most wives do whenever something goes on? Honey, let me tell you what he's over there doing. So she goes and tells the husband. Now, a real man, someone who's concerned about your marriage, will most likely put your husband to the side and be like, hey, dude, what's going on? Now, he won't say, well, look what so-and-so had told me. But he might say, hey, what's going on? You know, did you ever find a job? You know, a wisdom, that's where that wisdom comes in. They've been married for a while now. He says, how's everything going with that? You know, or what are you looking at? So he's now mentoring and digging and trying to help your husband to do what he needs to do. Maybe, you know, your husband doesn't understand curfew. You know, we don't give our husbands curfews, but he shouldn't be out in the streets at night. So once again, you're engaging with this mentor couple, and the mentor like, you know, hey, you know, didn't you go out the other night? Oh, you was hanging with the boys, right? Yeah. Man, I remember, you know, and they have men have a way of talking to each other where they get the conversation. So that's why you have these other couples with you, because they are now helping you get your life together with your husband. That way, it takes the responsibility off you to be the corrector, and you can now shift gears into being the cheerleader. Okay? You want to take a position of cheerleader in your husband's life more than mama. Okay? Because your husband, he loves his mama, but he don't want to be with his mama. Okay? You don't want him to see you as his mom. So a cheerleader, of course, you have those conversations with him. That's where pillow talk is involved. Where it's like, you can't do A, you can't, you know, this B is not going to work in our life, C isn't going to be effective for us. But you want to mostly be his cheerleader, so he's open to receiving when those issues come up. Because if you're constantly in his ear, it's just another bad conversation to him. But if it's honey and sweet and loving, and you say, hey baby, I got a concern, he's like, oh really, what's going on? Because he don't want that honey to stop flowing. Okay? So, questions. Any questions we have about community? Those are the three main points. There's actually about 8 full points in the my entire course that I teach. And I'm teaching a free webinar online where I give all of the strategies. Just take one and pass it around. I give all of the strategies to how to effectively communicate, and the title actually is Stepford Wives versus Headstrong Wives. Because I work mostly with headstrong wives. And there's nothing wrong with being headstrong. Sometimes we're in these relationships and it's like, oh, she too strong, or she got too many opinions. No, that's it. But there's nothing wrong with headstrong. Just means you got head of your own. You got opinions of your own. You have a personality and you don't mind expressing it. So we don't want to become Stepford wives. We want to remain headstrong and just learn how to speak so that our husbands hear. So that webinar, you can actually sign up for it. The link is there. And if you follow me on Instagram, I'll be sending you a direct link to it. And so on Instagram, I'm Connecting Love and Marriage. I'm also that on Facebook as well. So questions that you may have about communication. Do you have any questions?
I have, I don't know what the other 5 strategies will be, but these are great. I could do these. But have you ever had people come through your course where their husbands travel a lot